Hello, my name is Angela Westhoff-Johnson, OCP's Director of Product Development, and I'm so happy to be speaking with you today about how to incorporate antiphons into the liturgies of your parish. If you don't already include them, antiphons are a wonderful addition to any music ministry. OCP offers a diverse range of music resources that make it easy to add antiphons into your celebrations throughout the entire year. But before we get to that, let's talk about what antiphons are and how they can enhance your parish liturgies. Antiphons consist of psalm verses or brief sentences, usually from Scripture, that help us to better understand the liturgical moment or the readings that accompany the Mass or in the Liturgy of the Hours. They get their name from the way they were originally sung, antiphonally, as alternating chant between multiple choirs in a call and response arrangement. This is now perhaps most common in monasteries, where you will hear multiple choirs sing or recite antiphons as a refrain before and after each psalm during morning and evening prayer. In the Mass, antiphons accompany three liturgical actions: the entrance of the officiant, or the introit, the collection of offerings, or the offertory, and the distribution of communion. And so, Mass propers include three different antiphons that can be incorporated into your liturgies: the entrance antiphon, the offertory antiphon, and the communion antiphon. If your parish doesn't typically include these antiphons, you may be wondering why you've missed them. Most likely, your parish opts to use a hymn or a song in place of the antiphon. According to the general instruction of the Roman Missal, or the Germ, dioceses in the United States have four options for the chant, or song, that accompanies the entrance, offertory, and communion rites. The antiphon from the Roman Missal, or the antiphon with its psalm verses from the Roman Gradual. That's number one. The antiphon and psalm of the simple gradual, that's number two. An approved chant or song from another collection of psalms and antiphons. And number four is a suitable liturgical chant or song. It's super common to choose the fourth option and simply use a suitable song, and there's nothing wrong with that. Many music ministers are unfamiliar with antiphons, and they might not know how to use them. But there are many, many benefits to incorporating antiphons, as evidenced by the Germ, including them in 3 out of 4 options for these moments of the liturgy. The Germ states that the purpose of the entrance antiphon is to open the celebration, foster the unity of those who have been gathered, introduce their thoughts to the mystery of the liturgical time or festivity, and accompany the procession of the priest and the ministers. And the purpose of the communion antiphon is to express the communicants' union in spirit by means of the unity of their voices, to show joy of heart, and to highlight more clearly the communitarian nature of the procession to receive the Eucharist. By using the proper texts of the antiphons, either on their own or in combination with a hymn, you can be assured that you will turn the thoughts of your assembly to the mystery of the liturgical moment, because these ancient texts were designed to do just that. And you will certainly be expressing the communitarian nature of the Eucharist when you use a proper text shared by the entire universal church. The antiphons are also extremely versatile. When used alone, they are short enough to be combined with a song. So begin with a gathering hymn during the whole procession. Then use the entrance antiphon to facilitate a moment of reflection and focus while the priest incenses the altar. Or, as I have found more useful, begin with the entrance antiphon. Take a little pause. Then go into your opening hymn. I find that more useful. For the communion antiphon, you could begin with that when your priest receives the Eucharist and transition to a communion processional song when your assembly receives. With many arrangements, you can repeat the antiphon to fill a few moments there, or include the antiphon and the psalm to make it take a little longer. The antiphons can simply be recited, but the entrance and communion antiphons especially are meant to be sung. As the germ specifies, you can use the Latin Gregorian chant arrangements of the antiphons found in the Roman gradual, also known as the sung propers. Many parishes prefer to use arrangements of the English language antiphon texts from the Roman Missal. While these were originally designed for spoken masses and are known as the spoken propers, they can also be sung. And there are many beautiful arrangements of the English antiphons in a range of styles for all kinds of music ministries. Since the antiphons are the same every year and don't change with the lectionary cycle, an antiphon music resource is a great investment for your music ministries looking to expand their repertoire. They don't change from year to year. So let's talk about some of the resources OCP offers for these wonderful texts. The St. Meinrad Entrance and Communion Antiphons for the church year is an incredible resource made up of 6 volumes of chants composed by Benedictine Father Columba Kelly for modern assemblies. The volumes are Advent and Christmas, Lent through Holy Week, Easter through Pentecost, Ordinary Time 2 through 17, Ordinary Time Sundays of 18 to 33, and the Solemnities and Propers of Saints. There is also a small assembly edition available. Each volume includes the antiphons with verses and a simple congregational refrain, making them super versatile for your choir, cantor, and assembly. There are 8 tones used for the psalm verses. They are commonly called the Meinrad tones, and each one corresponds with the mode of the antiphon. Using them throughout the whole entire liturgical year, your parish will get to know them very, very well. The melodies of the St. Meinrad antiphons are inspired by the Latin Gregorian chants in the Graduale, reimagined for the English language text from the Roman Missal. The focus of the chant is always on the text rather than primarily on the music. So while the arrangements follow the modality and imitate the melodic patterns of the Graduale chants, they have a new emphasis based on the rhythm of the English language text. They make a wonderful resource for introducing your choir and cantor and assembly to chant. Learning chant can be intimidating, but it's really not as hard as you think, because chant is meant to maintain the flow and the rhythm of the natural speech, speaking through the text first to pick up on which words you should emphasize can really help, which for most of us will be much easier in English than in Latin. These resources are also in modern notation rather than Gregorian notation, which can help out choirs and cantors. And the inclusion of very, very simple congregational refrains will assist with assembly participation. The refrains are so simple that once they hear it, they will easily participate. If you're looking for a resource for your choir specifically, I cannot recommend Christopher Walker's antiphons enough. Titled Entrance Antiphons for SATB Choir and Communion Antiphons for SATB Choir, each resource comes in 2 volumes, one for seasons, solemnities, and feasts, and one for Sundays in ordinary time. As you can tell by the name, these are just for choirs. And unlike the St. Meinrad resource, these antiphons do not include verses. They are short choral antiphons in a variety of styles, from plain chant to full elaborate choral arrangements. There is often more than one antiphon text for any given Sunday, and Walker provides arrangements for both when this occurs. Usually one is simpler than the other. The other one is usually more choral. On some Sundays, he offers various presentations for one text, providing room for your choir to grow into more complex arrangements. The arrangements themselves are just beautiful and feel like chant with no meter. Some are very simple, and some offer a high choral option. These are choral moments for your parish liturgy when it's just the choir. They are exciting, but they still feel very liturgical. They are reverent, not too performance-y. With a lot of stylistic diversity, difficulty levels, and options to choose from, this is a great resource for all kinds of choirs and choirs with room to grow. It's also super affordable, making another great option for expanding your choir's repertoire for the whole church year on a budget. If your music ministry is more focused on contemporary or modern liturgical music, then Let Us All Rejoice is the resource for you. A collaboration between the popular songwriters Steve Angrosano, Sarah Hart, and Curtis Stephen, Let Us All Rejoice offers modern musical settings for the entrance and communion antiphons with assembly participation in mind. These settings are simple and accessible, highlighting the text and ensuring that any parishioner can sing along, even without music in front of them. Similar to Walker's resource, Let Us All Rejoice includes only the antiphons without the verses. Similar to the repeated tones of the Meinrad settings, Steve, Sarah, and Curtis incorporated some common melodies among their more than 200 musical settings. As assemblies begin to recognize these familiar melodies throughout the year, they will be encouraged to participate even more. And finally, for any parish that has a Spanish language music ministry, OCP has designed an amazing new digital resource with Spanish language antiphons for the whole year. Antífonas de entrada y de la comunión. Organized by calendar, this resource provides everything you could possibly need to incorporate the antiphons into a Spanish language music ministry in a 12-month subscription. Beautiful arrangements of the Spanish language antiphons from the Misal Romano are available to download as PDFs and MP3s. There are also videos introducing the antiphons created by each talented OCP composer responsible for having written the music. You can play through the score on a dynamic music player and even change the key. Thank you so much for joining us today to learn more about the antiphons for the Mass. I hope that you and your parish benefit from these underutilized proper texts and start incorporating them into your parish liturgies if you aren't already using them. I love using these texts in my own music ministry at St. Mary's Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception here in Portland, Oregon, has benefited so much from using many of the arrangements we discussed today. Whatever kind of music ministry your parish has, OCP has an antiphon resource for you. To learn more or order some of these resources for your parish, visit our antiphons webpage.